The crayon drawings covered my refrigerator like wallpaper. Sophie's purple unicorn overlapped Owen's attempt at a fire truck, both held up with alphabet magnets I'd collected over the years. The kitchen still smelled faintly of the cinnamon rolls I'd made that morning, the same recipe I'd been making every Tuesday for the past 6 years. I wiped down the counter one more time, checking the clock. 3:45. In 15 minutes, I'd hear the school bus rumbling down Maple Street, followed by the thunder of small feet racing up my driveway. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays had become the architecture of my week. Everything else bent around them. I'd been the reliable grandmother, the one who never said no, never had other plans, never made them feel like an inconvenience. When Michael and Jennifer had Owen, and childcare costs threatened to drown them, I'd stepped in without hesitation. That was what grandmothers did, wasn't it? We showed up. 6 years. Over 300 weeks of snacks prepared, homework supervised, skinned knees kissed, and bedtime stories read in my living room while we waited for their parents to finish work. I'd turned down the promotion at the accounting firm where I worked part-time. The hours would have conflicted with pickup. I'd stopped going to my book club. Tuesday evenings were bath time. I'd even postponed the trip to Ireland I'd been planning since Richard passed. Maybe next year, I kept telling myself. When they're older, when they need me less. My phone buzzed on the counter. I expected the usual check-in from Jennifer, maybe running 5 minutes late, maybe asking if I could keep them an extra hour. Instead, the message made me read it 3 times before the words actually registered. Hi, Kathy. Quick update. Wanted to give you a heads up before the kids mention it. We've enrolled Sophie and Owen at Bright Horizons Learning Center starting next Monday. Their program looks amazing. Lots of structure and activities. Thanks for everything you've done. We really appreciate it. I'll text you about the handoff this week. I set the phone down carefully, as if it might shatter, then picked it up again. Read it once more. The casual tone, the exclamation point after amazing, the past tense. Everything you've done, not everything you're doing. Done, past, finished. No question, no discussion. Just, thanks. We're good now. The school bus appeared right on schedule. I watched through the kitchen window as Sophie and Owen climbed down the steps, Sophie's purple backpack bouncing, Owen clutching his lunchbox. But instead of turning toward my house, they walked straight to Jennifer's car, idling at the curb. She must have left work early. Owen waved in my direction, that sweet, absent-minded wave of a 5-year-old who couldn't quite see through the window. Then they were gone. The silence in my house felt different than it ever had before. Not peaceful, hollow. I looked at the refrigerator, at the art projects I'd helped create, at the growth chart marks on the door frame where I'd measured them every birthday, at the basket of their favorite books by the couch, at the twin booster seats still at my kitchen table. When had I become so easy to dismiss? I called Michael that evening. He answered with the harried edge he always had after work, the sound of the kids arguing about something in the background. Mom, hey, can I call you back? We're right in the middle of dinner. Jennifer texted me, I said. About the daycare. Oh, yeah, that. Hold on. I heard him move to another room, a door closing, the chaos muted. Yeah, Jen found this great program. It's supposed to be really good for socialization, you know? Structured activities, other kids their age. We thought it would be good for them. You thought, I repeated slowly, it would be good for them. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, Mom. You've been great. Amazing, really. But they need more than one person can give, you know? The program has music, sports, computer skills, real educational stuff. Real educational stuff, as opposed to what I'd been doing for 6 years. Apparently making cinnamon rolls and reading chapter books didn't count as real. Michael, I rearranged my entire life around taking care of them. We know, and we're grateful, really. But they're getting older now. They need different things. You could have talked to me first. He sighed, and I could picture him rubbing his forehead the way he did when he wanted a conversation to end. It's not personal, Mom. We're their parents. We get to make these decisions. I thought you'd be happy to have your time back. My time back. As if I'd been waiting 6 years to reclaim my Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Fridays. As if I'd been watching the clock, counting down until I could be free of them. Right, I said quietly. Of course. You're their parents. Exactly. Look, I've gotta go. The kids need baths. I'll call you this weekend, okay? He didn't call that weekend. I spent Saturday cleaning out the craft supplies from my spare room. 6 years of accumulated projects, popsicle sticks and googly eyes and that special washable paint. I'd bought the big bottles because we went through so much. I boxed it all up, not quite ready to donate it, but unable to look at it anymore. Sunday, I went through my calendar. All those blocked off times, school pickup, after school care, half days, teacher conferences, I'd marked them all, worked my entire schedule around them. The white spaces looked strange now, empty. On Monday afternoon at 3:45, I sat in my quiet kitchen and didn't make cinnamon rolls. The real discovery came 2 weeks later, when I was having coffee with Linda, my neighbor who'd watched this whole thing unfold from her kitchen window across the street. I probably shouldn't tell you this, Linda said, stirring her coffee with more focus than it required. But I saw Jennifer's Pinterest board. Her what? Pinterest. You know, where people save ideas and articles. She has a whole board about grandparent boundaries. Linda pulled out her phone. My daughter follows her. Look, I looked. Pin after pin. How to kindly limit grandparent time. Why professional childcare is better than family. Setting boundaries with overbearing in-laws. The danger of grandparents who overstep. Overbearing. Overstepping. That's what I was. There's more, Linda said gently. She posted in some mom group last month. Something about feeling obligated to use you for childcare because you'd be hurt if they didn't, but wanting to transition to a more professional setup. She said you were. Let me find it too permissive and undermined their parenting. The coffee tasted like ash. I set it down. When did wanting to spend time with your grandchildren become overstepping? Linda reached across the table and squeezed my hand. She didn't have an answer. Neither did I. That night, I did something I hadn't done in 6 years. I opened the folder labeled Ireland 2019 on my computer. The trip I'd postponed when Owen was born. I'd had everything planned. 2 weeks, the complete tour, Cliffs of Moher, Ring of Kerry, Dublin, Galway. I'd cancelled it all because Jennifer had been overwhelmed with 2 under 2, and I couldn't imagine leaving them when they needed me. I looked at the dates I'd originally chosen. Late September, early October, when the crowds thinned but the weather still held. I pulled up the tour company website. They had openings for this September, 3 weeks from now. I booked it before I could talk myself out of it. 2 weeks. Non-refundable. Then I texted Michael. Just booked a trip to Ireland, September 20 through October 4. Wanted to let you know. His response came quickly. That's great, Mom. You deserve it. Have fun. No mention of the daycare cost. No acknowledgement that they'd been saving $1,800 every month for 6 years because I'd been doing it for free. I'd done the math once, during a sleepless night. Over $129,000 worth of childcare. Not counting the gas driving to activities, the meals I'd provided, the supplies I'd bought. I'd never asked for the money. That wasn't the point. But some recognition that it had value, that I had value beyond being free labor, would have been something. I waited for Jennifer to respond to my trip announcement. Surely she'd say something. Maybe thanks for letting us know, or hope you have a wonderful time, or we'll miss you. Nothing. I called Sophie's school the next day. I was still listed as an emergency contact, still approved for pickup. I asked to be removed from the list. Are you sure, Mrs. Walsh? The secretary asked. It's always good to have backup. I'm sure. They have professional childcare now. They'll have professional backup too. The next Friday, Jennifer texted. Hey, Kathy, are you free to watch the kids tomorrow? Michael and I were invited to a wedding, and the daycare doesn't do weekends. I stared at the message for a long time. The casual assumption, the lack of please, the expectation that I'd just be available. Still the backup plan, still the convenient option when their professional solution didn't cover all the hours. I typed and deleted 3 responses before settling on. Sorry, I have plans. Oh, okay. What are you doing? I almost laughed. 6 years she'd never asked what I was doing, because what I was doing was waiting for her to need me. Now she wanted details. Just plans, I wrote back. Well, it's kind of important. It's Michael's college roommate. We already RSVP'd. You could check with the daycare about their emergency weekend care. I'm sure a professional facility has options. The 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, we can't afford that. That's unfortunate, I typed. Good luck figuring it out. I turned off my phone. Michael called from a different number an hour later. I let it go to voicemail. His message started calm, then escalated. Mom, what the hell? Jennifer told me you refused to watch the kids. It's one Saturday. You're being really petty right now. Just call me back. Petty. That's what standing up for yourself was called now. I didn't call back. Sunday evening, he showed up at my door. No kids, just him, looking tired and frustrated. We had to skip the wedding, he said, not bothering with hello. Thanks for that. You're welcome to come in, I said, but not if you're going to yell at me on my porch. He came in, paced my living room. The living room where I'd read to his children hundreds of times, where we'd built blanket forts and played endless games of Candyland. I don't understand what's going on with you, he finally said. You're acting like we did something terrible. We're trying to give our kids the best opportunities. I thought you'd want that. Did you? I sat down in my reading chair, the one with the perfect light for afternoon stories. Did you think about what I wanted at all? Or did you just think about what was convenient for you? That's not fair, isn't it? You made a major decision about childcare without even mentioning it to me. You replaced me with strangers, texted me about it like you were canceling a subscription service, and then got upset when I wasn't available to be your backup plan. You're not childcare mom, you're their grandmother. Exactly. I'm their grandmother, not your employee who can be fired without notice and then called back in for overtime when it suits you. He stopped pacing. Is this about money? Because we can't afford to pay you what we're paying the daycare. The fact that he went there, that he reduced 6 years of love to a billing dispute, made something crack inside me. Get out, I said quietly. What? Get out of my house. Mom, come on, don't be dramatic. I'm not being dramatic. I'm being clear. You can leave now. He left, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the pictures on the wall. I sat in the silence afterward, shaking. I'd never talked to him that way before. Never set a boundary that sharp. I'd always smoothed things over, always been accommodating, always put their needs first. The shaking eventually stopped. In its place came something unexpected. Clarity. I'd spent 6 years available, 6 years flexible, 6 years proving my love by erasing myself. And the moment I wasn't available, I was petty, dramatic, unfair. The Ireland trip became my anchor. I bought new luggage. I joined an online forum for solo travelers and started reading about the best pubs in Dublin, the best walking trails in Galway. I downloaded audiobooks for the flight. I planned and researched and let myself feel excited in a way I hadn't in years. Jennifer texted a week before I left. A long message this time. Kathy, I think we need to talk. Michael told me about your argument. I never meant for you to feel unappreciated. We really are grateful for everything you've done for Sophie and Owen. I think maybe there was some miscommunication about expectations. The kids miss you. Owen keeps asking when he can go to Grandma's house again. Maybe, when you get back from your trip, we can sit down and figure out a better arrangement? I know the daycare transition was sudden. We should have handled it better. Better than what? Better than a text message announcing I'd been replaced? The bar was low, but Owen was asking for me. That detail lodged somewhere in my chest. I called her instead of texting back. "I'm glad the kids miss me," I said when she answered. "I miss them too. But Jennifer, you need to understand something. What you did wasn't just sudden. It was dismissive. You made a choice about my time, my life, my relationship with my grandchildren without including me in the conversation. And then, when I wasn't available to babysit last minute, you acted like I'd broken some contract. I know. You're right. I'm sorry." The apology sounded sincere. But I'd learned something in the past 3 weeks. Apologies without changed behavior were just words. "Here's what I need," I said. "When I get back from Ireland, we're going to have a real conversation about boundaries, about expectations, about respect. I'm not a free daycare service. I'm not backup childcare. I'm their grandmother. And if you want me to be part of their lives, it has to be because you value that relationship, not because it's convenient. Of course we value it. Then show me. Show me by asking instead of assuming, by including me in decisions that affect me, by recognizing that my time has worth even if you're not paying for it." "Okay," she said quietly. "Okay, we can do that. And Jennifer? I'm not going to be available every week like before. I'm 62 years old. I gave you 6 years of my life, and I don't regret it. I love those kids more than anything, but I also need to live my own life, take my own trips, have my own plans. You and Michael chose to have children. They're your responsibility, not mine. I understand. Do you? Because I need you to really understand. I'll babysit when I can, when it works for both of us, when you ask me with advance notice. But I'm not your fallback plan anymore. You want professional childcare? Fine. But that means you handle your own childcare emergencies professionally." There was a long pause. Then, "The daycare is really expensive." "Yes," I said. "Good childcare is expensive. That's why what I did for 6 years had value." "You're right. You're absolutely right. Can I ask you something?" "What?" "When you get back, would you want to have the kids over on Saturdays? Just for fun, not as childcare. I thought maybe you could do something special with them. Take them to the park, or the library, or whatever you want, an hour or 2. If you want to." I thought about it. Saturdays. 1 morning a week, on my terms, for relationship, not convenience. "I'd like that," I said. "We'll figure out the details when I get back." Ireland was everything I'd hoped it would be, and more. I hiked the coastal trails until my legs ached. I sat in pubs and talked to strangers who became friends for an evening. I stood at the edge of the cliffs of Moher and felt the wind try to push me back, and I leaned into it instead. I took hundreds of photos, not for anyone else, just for me. Evidence that I existed outside of being someone's mother, someone's grandmother, that I had my own story, my own adventures, my own life that mattered. The last night in Galway, I had dinner with 3 women I'd met on the tour, all of us over 60, all of us traveling alone. We shared our stories, and I was struck by how similar they were. Women who'd spent decades caring for everyone else, who'd finally decided to care for themselves. "My daughter thinks I'm having a midlife crisis," one woman said, laughing. I told her 62 is too late for midlife. This is just life. Finally, I raised my glass to that. When I got home, there was a package on my porch. Inside, drawings from Sophie and Owen. "We miss you, Grandma. Love you." And a card from Michael and Jennifer. "Welcome home. We'd love to have you over for dinner this Saturday, if you're free." I texted back. "Saturday dinner sounds nice. I'll bring dessert." That Saturday, I showed up with a chocolate cake and my Ireland photos on my phone. The kids climbed all over me, showing me their new school, telling me about their teachers, their friends. They'd grown in 2 weeks. Or maybe I was just seeing them differently. After dinner, after the kids went to bed, we sat in the living room. Michael and Jennifer on one couch, me in the chair across from them. "I need to say something," Michael started. "I'm sorry. Really sorry. We treated you like you were disposable, and you're not. You're my mom. You're their grandmother. What you did for us, for them, for 6 years. We took it for granted. I took it for granted. Jennifer nodded. We want to make it right. Here's how you make it right, I said. You treat me like a person, not a service. You ask, not assume. You plan ahead. You respect that I have my own life. We will, Michael said. I promise. And one more thing, I added. I need you to understand that helping you was my choice, but it was also a sacrifice. I gave up opportunities, trips, experiences, because I wanted to be there for you. I don't regret it. But I need you to see it, to acknowledge it, not with money, with respect. I see it now, he said, and his voice cracked slightly. I'm sorry it took you leaving for me to see it. We agreed on Saturdays. 2 hours, just me and the kids. Not childcare, grandma time, on my terms. The rest of the week, they had their daycare, their routine, their structure. It wasn't what it was before. It was better, because they wanted me there, not needed me there. Because I chose to show up, not obligated myself to show up. Because love without boundaries had almost destroyed our relationship, and boundaries with love were rebuilding it stronger. 3 months later, Jennifer asked if I could watch the kids on a Wednesday afternoon. Doctor's appointment. Couldn't reschedule. What time? I asked. 3 to 5. If you can. If you can't, I understand. I can try to find someone else. I can do 3 to 5. Thank you. Really, thank you. When I picked them up from school that day, Owen ran to me with the same enthusiasm he always had. Sophie, older now, more aware, hugged me tight. I missed our Saturdays when you were gone, she said. Me too, sweetheart. But Grandma? I'm glad you went. Mom showed us your pictures. Ireland looks beautiful. It was beautiful. Maybe someday we'll go together. Really? Really? When you're older? We'll make it an adventure. She beamed at that. The possibility of future adventures together, not obligation, not convenience, choice. That evening, after I dropped them back home, I sat in my kitchen and looked at my calendar. Saturday morning blocked off for the kids. Tuesday night, book club. Next month, a weekend trip to Nashville I'd been wanting to take. My life, full again, but full of things I chose. The refrigerator still had their drawings. But now there were postcards from Ireland too. My unicorn sketch from a pub in Doolin, a ticket stub from a ferry ride, evidence of both lives, the one I lived for them and the one I lived for myself. Both mattered. Both had value. Both could exist together, as long as everyone remembered that I wasn't just someone's grandmother. I was Catherine Walsh. I was 62 years old, and I was still writing my own story. The lesson had cost me 3 weeks of silence and a confrontation I'd never wanted, but it had given me something I'd lost along the way. Myself, my boundaries, my voice, and in the end, it gave my grandchildren something better than a grandmother who was always available. It gave them a grandmother who was whole.